everybody, welcome to Homestead and welcome to my channel. So, some more developments, a very interesting tweet that just came out. This is from Howard Feynman with the blue check mark, and he says, David Martin of CBS News, a superb reporter I've known for decades. Now, sorry, I guess I should have started with this. This is an NBC and MSNBC News analyst, contributing correspondent, author. Okay, so he's someone that, he's in that circle of people, which I think that we can probably trust this. So David Martin of CBS News, a superb reporter I've known for decades and worked with at the original Newsweek for many years, and whom I trust totally, says Putin has just ordered Russian forces to invade Ukraine. Now, this is new. We were talking about this earlier. There's already been reports by multiple news outlets talking about the fact that Putin has given the order to invade Ukraine. But this is the first time that we're kind of hearing this. Russian forces to invade Ukraine in its entirety. Okay, now, that's not too surprising given the fact that 3/4 of the Russian military are on the Ukrainian border and surrounding it, right? But this is kind of like the first kind of like official word that we're getting that seems to be what's going to happen. And then look at this, with reserve units following to run an occupation. There was another tweet by at Intel Doge, says, meanwhile, major news from a reliable CBS News journalist talking about David Martin. He's their national security correspondent and has had that position since 1993. He's as good as they come. And he's referring to the tweet that we just read. So it really, really does seem like this is happening. It really, really does. This happened at the time that I'm recording this. This happened. This was posted within the last hour. Okay, so this is just, I think that this is what we're looking at potentially. I don't know if this is going to be resurrected, and that's what the ultimate goal is. But this is a map. This comes from mappr.co, okay? And this shows you the former Soviet states, right? Including Ukraine, Belarus. And it seems to me, and it seems like to many analysts, that Putin, in some form or some way, wants to somehow regain this. Maybe not as far as like actually restarting the Soviet Union, but he already has alliances with some of these countries. I pulled this map up. This is from The Sun, and this is from 2017, but it's basically still current. So here you have countries that are essentially aligned with Russia. You see here, there's still a lot of the former Soviet states that are still allies, right? We got Belarus, which, interestingly, that's where a lot of Russian troops are right now. They were supposedly conducting military exercises with Russian forces, but it seems as though they're going to be part of this invasion coming in from the north. But Belarus, dictator government, and a key ally. It says a key ally here. Okay, and then you got up here, you have these countries that have feared invasion. We were talking earlier about Finland, fears invasion. Estonia, fears invasion. Latvia, fears invasion. Lithuania, fears invasion. And then even Norway. I didn't know that Norway was concerned, but Norway also fears invasion. And I think especially now, I think that those fears have been ratcheted up since this is happening. I looked up like a list of all the different conflicts and stuff that Russia's been involved in recently. And it's kind of interesting because I think a really key event that happened. I mean, I'm no expert on these things, but I think one of the most key things that has led up to what we're seeing right now is this right here, the Russo-Georgian War in 2008. So this was the year that Obama became president, which I'm not saying that it's his fault. I'm just saying that for reference, so you can kind of think back to when that was. Okay, I pulled up this really interesting article about that. Now, before I go into that, though, just so you know, I've set up a Twitter account. If you want to, excuse me, if you want to follow this, I'm going to keep on top of these things and share tweets and also do my own tweets. So you can check me out on Twitter. I also have Facebook, so you can follow me there, and Instagram as well, and Pinterest. And all these links are below in the description. Okay, so how a 5-day war with Georgia allowed Russia to reassert its military might. Now, let's look at the map. Again, Georgia. So this is Russia right here, and Georgia is just this little country here on the coast of the Black Sea. Okay, 2008, something happened. I'm going to read just some of the key parts here. In early August 2008, after Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili sent troops into the rebellious province of South Ossetia, Russia came to its defense, the rebellious part, beginning a 5-day-long conflict that ended with Russian troops within striking distance of Tbilisi, the Georgian capital. Moscow's aggressive reaction to its long-simmering tensions with Georgia announced Russia's reemergence as a military power and paved the way for its controversial dealings with another former Soviet republic, Ukraine, beginning in 2014. Okay, because essentially what happened, I'm just going to read it to you. Okay, conclusion and lasting legacy of the war. Beyond diplomatic efforts and humanitarian aid, the international community did little to stop the conflict. And I remember when this happened as well. I remember when Ukraine was going on, and I remember this as well. Just thinking, how are they being allowed to do this? Well, no, the fear. Okay, let's go on. No one was willing to go to war for Georgia, Galeotti points out. This was a time in which no one really wanted to provoke Russia. Dmitry Medvedev was president, or at least a puppet anyway, to Putin, and particularly American policy was to essentially hope that this would be leveraged into something more positive. So, to a large extent, Georgia was left on its own. After Russia called a halt to its advance into Georgia, a ceasefire on August 12th ended the Russia-Georgian War. According to an official European Union fact-finding report in 2009, nearly 850 people were killed during the 5-day conflict, while some 35,000 Georgians were left homeless. That same fact-finding report concluded that, though Georgia had initiated the war, Russia had provoked its neighbor over a long period and overreacted to that initial artillery attack. So, essentially, stoking the flames, trying to get this to happen. Which seems to be the case with what's been going on with Ukraine creating false conditions and justifications to invade Ukraine. And that's what they did the first time in 2014 as well. Though Russia formally recognized South Ossetia and Abkhazia as independent states after the war, few other countries have joined them in doing so. Meanwhile, Georgia turned further away from Russian influence in the aftermath of the conflict and signed an association agreement with the European Union in 2014. So, Russia, in their eyes, they liberated those parts that used to be part of Georgia, liberated them and made them their own countries, which it seems that no one recognizes. I think this is, let's see, let me look it up. South Ossetia. I don't know. It's not on the... Now, I haven't followed this too closely, so you have to forgive me, but I think that this is still how Russia views it. So I don't know if this is the same kind of deal as East Ukraine, where, you know, Georgia still believes that this is part of them, but Russia won that war or helped them win. And so it's kind of like in a weird status where no one really knows what the true political status is of this portion of what was Georgia or is Georgia. Anyway, so there was that, and then another section, which I think was right here, but I'm not going to look it up. Okay. Okay, now check this out. Perhaps the most lasting consequence of the Russia-Georgia war can be seen in what happened 6 years later in Ukraine. With Putin back as president and Medvedev as prime minister, Kremlin-backed forces seized control of the Crimean Peninsula and parts of the Donbas region in 2014. Russia had undertaken a much more serious military reform program in the wake of the Georgian War, Galeotti explains, which led to the far more competent forces that we saw in the annexation of Crimea. So it seems that Georgia kind of sharpened their teeth and got them more prepared to do what they did with Crimea. Moreover, by not coming to Georgia's defense in the lopsided 2008 conflict, the international community had proved to Russians that it was essentially lacking in the will to back up its fine words, Galeotti says. In hindsight, one wonders, would Crimea and the Donbas wars have happened if the West had been more robust in its response to Georgia? I'm willing to bet that, yeah, probably things would have been different, and this may not be happening right now, what we're seeing. But I think that Russia is feeling very emboldened. They succeeded down here in Georgia. They succeeded with Ukraine in Crimea in the eastern part of the country. And now they're just like, screw it. Let's just take the whole thing. And I think that's really what's happening. I think that this is not just a lighthearted tweet. I think that there's a lot of credibility here. And especially right here in its entirety. The entirety of Ukraine, which I don't know if that means that they're going to allow Ukraine to continue as a country, or if they're essentially going to, replace the government, but then enforce it afterwards. Well, it says here that reserve units following to run an occupation. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens exactly. I don't think anyone really knows. So they're looking to turn this big yellow section of the map right here red. And after that, then what? Are they going to go after these other countries? Norway, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania? What are they going to do? Who the heck knows? Who the heck knows? So it's very disturbing. And like I said, I think that attacking a country of this size, and I'm not talking about the land size, Ukraine is a relatively large country. It's 44 million people. This and it's a first world country. This is the first time I can think of two first world countries going to war since World War II. It's something that we haven't seen since that time. Unless you count like kind of what's already kind of happened. But this seems, I'm differentiating this from what's happened before with Ukraine and Georgia, because this looks like it's going to be a full-on war, a complete invasion of a first world country in the 21st century. And it's a sad situation that Russia is taking advantage of our fear, in Europe's fear, to not go to war with it. It knows that it can do this and get away with it. There have been other things that Russia has done. You can check out this list because, as you know, there was also Chechnya. There was a first and a second Chechen war where they put down rebels, essentially gain control of that part of the country. Insurgency in the North Caucasus, which is kind of that same region. The Caucasus Mountains are right here along Georgia and Azerbaijan. There's the Ukrainian war, and then we got the Russian military intervention in Syria, which is still ongoing, to keep Bashar in power. And then they have this going on in the Central African Republic. So they've been very active and trying to protect their allies and assert more control, it would seem. I know that it's not as simple as this. I understand. Okay. I know a lot of you are like, don't trust, these sources of information because there's agendas. I know that. Believe me, I've been aware of those things. I've been aware of the secret combinations and all the different groups that are involved with secret combinations. It's just that this channel is not for that. Okay, this is a more mainstream channel. I'm not going down those rabbit holes on this channel. Regardless of how you view this situation, regardless of who's doing what and why and what secret combinations might be involved and so on and so forth, the fact of the matter is that this is going to happen, it would seem. That this is going to happen. It doesn't matter who or why. It is going to happen, and this is going to affect all of us. That's more of what I'm concerned about with this whole thing. And I think it is going to affect all of us. Best case scenario, it's going to affect us economically. Worst case scenario, it's going to be World War III. Okay? World War III. I hope it doesn't come to that. I don't think that it will. I think it'll just be kind of limited to Ukraine. If I were to guess, I would say that it's probably just going to be limited to Ukraine. Russia will have its way. Things will calm down maybe over a few years, and then maybe later they're going to do it again. Maybe the next time do it with one of these three countries, Estonia, Latvia, or Lithuania. Or heck, maybe even Finland. Probably not. I would think that they would probably go after the previous Soviet states. But the fact that we're talking about a full-on invasion of Ukraine is just, it's mind-blowing. I cannot believe that we're talking about this. Oh, and by the way, they've set up a no-fly zone right here. Well, I don't want to say no-fly zone, but it's what's known as a NOTAM, or a Notice to Airmen. That's where basically they're letting the world of aviation know, you better not fly in this area right here for your own good, because you could get shot down. Don't fly here. So they did it over does it have the name? Yeah, the Sea of Azov. So for this area right here, this is like a no-fly zone, basically. And that started like several hours ago, I believe. So, yeah. That's where we're at. I think that this is essentially the end goal, or something like this, a new version of this right here. And this has everything. This has everything to do with the last days. This is major. This is no small thing. Again, who knows how things could escalate. I pray that they don't, but I'm not putting it outside the realm of possibility that this could spread into a wider conflict, So we'll just have to, we're going to watch it, keep our eyes on it, and we should all pray. All right, that's all I have for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Again, feel free to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, if you'd like. Like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and comments and information down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share this, and I'll talk to you guys later.